Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and let's start with the View's Sunny Hostin. And my thoughts and prayers go out to her because it seems despite her considerable wealth and all the options that affords, Sunny has decided to live in a terribly racist, all-white neighbourhood with racist cops who would harass her son for just jogging.
I have had to be in the position where I have gone to my local police department because I know my son is going to be training for the Junior Olympics, running around the neighborhood in an all-white neighborhood, and I have brought him to the police and said, he belongs to me, this is my son, do not harass him, do not stop him.
Now, Sunny's fears reasonable. Did she really choose to live in a hostile, deeply racist neighbourhood, or is she perhaps a race-obsessed victim playing fantasist? You decide. She does mention white people incessantly, so much so that she blamed racism for Jason Aldean's great song, Try That in a Small Town, doing so well in the charts. I mean, this is super duper loopy even by the View standards.
And unfortunately, this became the #1 song on U.S. iTunes. We have a problem in this country about race, and the biggest problem is we refuse to admit that it exists.
Well, don't you think that a lot of this...
And Sunny has a massive chip on her shoulder when it comes to white women in particular. She loves to put down white women.
Meaning white women own slaves as well. I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit.
White women owning slaves? You know who else owns slaves? Sunny's family.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Oh, that was a little bit awkward, wasn't it? Don't you hate it when you get a TV program to do a deep dive into your ancestry and they tell you, a woman obsessed with race, slavery and supposed oppression, that you are the descendant of slave owners, not slaves, slave owners. But let's move on to the most famous and no doubt best paid View co-host, Whoopi Goldberg. And here she is spreading disinformation again, this time about the new White House ballroom.
So Americans, the question is, are you on board with all of this? This is like a cash grab.
Yeah.
And your taxes are probably going to be paying for that...
that ballroom.
I mean, it's kind of kooky.
A kooky? No, it's not kooky, Whoopi. What's kooky is straight out lying about taxpayer funds going into that ballroom that Trump and private donors are paying for, which will be owned by the American people. Whoopi and the rest of the View co-hosts are obsessed by this ballroom. They've talked about it endlessly. Hope you're all ready for a really dumb analogy here and a sing-along.
That would be like me going over to Trump Tower and saying I'm going to build a disco. You know, they've wanted a disco in Trump Tower for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, come on, man. You don't own that building. That is the people's building. You don't own it.
Let's finish.
You don't own it. You cannot take it down.
Oh, please stop singing, please. You got something right though, ladies. He doesn't own it, but he is the president, and that means he has the authority to do precisely what he is doing. Now, let's check on another View lady, this time on a CNN panel, being triggered by facts. Watch Ana Navarro's face as the only sane woman at the table spells out the uncomfortable truth.
Gotta jump in here because I feel like we're living in the twilight zone. We're talking about that this was a bad week for America First policy. Trump brokered a ceasefire deal in the Middle East. Hamas put down weapons. The hostages were released. And we're not going to talk about that. That is the biggest foreign policy victory.
Oh, she was swallowing hard there, trying to keep that bile down. And talking about bile, let's go to ABC now, where George Stephanopoulos is fact-checked in the most polite manner possible after claiming that turkey prices are through the roof. Well, Walmart CEO John Furner tells him that they are, in fact, at their lowest price since 2019. who was president back then again, and that their Thanksgiving basket also costs less this year. You can almost see George's little heart breaking here, learning the good news.
And let's talk about Thanksgiving first. Food prices are up, especially turkey. So what are you doing to help customers keep the cost down? This year, we will have the best prices on this basket we've had since the program started. We're down about 25% from last year, down about $14 for the basket. Our turkey prices, George, are all the way back to what they were in 2019 at 97 cents a pound.
You know, someone who needs to lay off the turkey and the stuffing as well is this next lady, if you can call her that. Guess what? She's a teacher. Why do they always seem to be teachers? Like this creature we showed you earlier in the week. And if you want to know why she was doing that, well, some new footage has come to light. It shows a different angle. And it shows the people she was aiming that at were in a vehicle that had a big Charlie Kirk flag. Now, here is Caitlin Bennett talking to some hideous heifer woman who claims that Charlie Kirk was killed for being bad and that perhaps Caitlin should be murdered too.
Whatever his name was?
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
What, if she would die?
I don't know.
Excuse me?
No, I don't know you, but I didn't know him either. But he was not a good person.
He would go to college campuses?
And
he would go to...
I think he got shot because he wasn't a good person.
There you go. Only bad people are murdered in cold blood. I mean, trust the left to make an art form out of victim blaming and just being indecent, vicious miscreants. And on top of that, they're classic cry bullies. They behave terribly and then they play the victim. Watch that hideous heifer woman play the victim because the woman whose murder she just advocated dared to point her finger at her.
Was promoting was horrible.
What was he promoting?
Right. Yeah, I'm done with you.
What was he promoting, ma'am?
Be done with her. She's pointing her finger in your face. And
Yes, you're a horrible person yourself. And point your finger in my face and coming to this peaceful demonstration. Why would you? And put it in my face.
Yeah, can't you just feel how peaceful and tolerant and loving they all are? You know what? We're probably going to get some complaints about fat shaming, but what type of fat shaming? Because there are different types of fat. Are you small fat or super fat? What's your fat privilege?
I have a question. Can you tell me what category of fat I fit in?
So it's based on your shirt size. If you are a 1 or 2X, you are small fat. 3 to 4X, you are mid fat. 5 to 6X, you are super fat, is based on what level of privilege you have in the world. So someone in a small fat category may not struggle getting on an airplane, but someone in a mid fat or super fat may not be able to use even the airplane extender. So that's where that comes in and like the privilege levels of like what fat means to different people.
Now let's go back to the protests and check the work of this young man. He went around and asked these delulu fools about human rights. Do they really respect the human rights of all?
Human rights, what do you think about them?
We're in favor of them.
For everybody?
Yes.
How about the unborn? Do you support human rights?
Yes, of course.
For everybody?
Yes, of course.
Even people in the womb?
Well...
Thoughts on human rights?
That's what we're here for.
For everybody, right?
Yes.
Including the unborn?
No.
Everyone has autonomy to not be killed, I think.
Freedom means choice. You have no argument. Stop taking rights away. Get out of here.
Nice work there. And you know what? These protesters aren't all violent, murder-loving monsters. Some of them are just stupid.
Standing with all the cities that are under attack from the misinformation.
All right. Well, Portland. Because those dinosaurs want to change, man.
I am protesting. I'm with the No Kings protesters to make sure that the world knows that not all of us are stupid.
I am protesting this sexist, homophobic, genocidal.
And while we're focusing on stupid, let's hear from former First Son and presidential pardon recipient Hunter Biden, who sees something sinister and dangerous about Trump and mocking these ridiculous protests.
So when I see the President of the United States create an AI video wearing a crown and dumping excrement on the heads of American peaceful protesters and, TikTok stars like Harry, I see him basically painting a bullseye.
Wow.
Painting a bullseye on somebody like that.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but.
Yeah, you hadn't thought of it because it's insane. The political violence is coming from the left. As for Hunter claiming that Trump is painting a bullseye on protesters and TikTok stars, as he calls that beta boy, well, remember what your father actually said?
You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but you appreciate that
I didn't say
word.
crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing.
And let's end with a lefty losing it when he sees a Trump costume and goes nuts. I have to ask again, what is it with the left and violence?
Yo, really? You're gonna attack somebody in a costume? You get off. Get the off. You
Let's hear now from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who has a blunt message for drug runners.
I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters. The boat.
Do a strike in the United States, or if Northern
Well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs. And they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We track them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. If you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
Joining me now is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, welcome to Melbourne. Welcome to Australia. Who exactly is against this policy other than drug traffickers and members of the media and the Democrats? Surely any efforts to stop deadly drugs coming into America would be supported widely.
Well, that's exactly who's in favor of it, right? The drug smugglers, the media, the Democrats, and that's it. That's the entire list of people. It is insane to me. Again, it's these own goal by the Democrats. This is again one of those 80-20 issues we keep talking about. How could they possibly be against this? Now, look, let's put aside the legal issues, right? Okay, fine. There's an argument. I think I've looked into it, and there's a very strong legal argument how we can continue to prosecute this, and we have.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's the other side of it saying it may or may not be legal. But from a practical standpoint, how could you be against us blowing up drugs coming into the U.S. to kill Americans, right? But the Democrats are mostly all for it, with the exception of John Fetterman. Now, I keep glazing this guy so much, I should work for Dunkin' Donuts. I love the guy, okay? What can I tell you? He's the one guy who's standing up against the Democrats and saying, we should continue this policy. And what are the Democrats doing? They're going to try to primary him. This is such a tight Senate, and they're trying to get rid of a popular Democratic senator. That shows you how out of touch the Democratic Party is.
I can't believe Fetterman. Seriously, when he was first running and I had a look at his track record and some of the things he said, I thought, what are they thinking here? Never mind the fact that he seemed to be incoherent. But then he had a stint in hospital and he seemed to come out a different man, not just in his cognitive abilities, but in his policy positions and just talking common sense. He seems to be almost the the moral and common sense advocate in the modern Democrats at the moment. And for that reason, he's going to be driven out possibly.
That's what's so crazy. They keep saying Big Tent. You're not a Big Tent. Yeah. You're not. You're a hard left Democratic Party. And for the members who are not necessarily hard left themselves, they all support it. How many people in the Democratic Party are condemning Mamdani? How many are vocally, forget about supporting him, which a number of are, how many are condemning him? The answer is close to zero.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about Mamdani because they've had the debates and be interesting to see if that turns the dial at all. But sticking with the drug runners, President Donald Trump has said the US will hit drug smugglers attempting to enter the country by land as well as by those lethal strikes at sea.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year, these drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that.
And again, I think that's something else that is lost when you talk about the politics of this. Not just the moral arguments for doing it, the number of lives that could be saved, but drugs have just been such a crisis in the US for so long that everybody knows somebody who has died from an overdose, has had a drug addiction. So this has touched just so many people who care about this issue.
It is, which is why it's so bewildering that Democrats have a problem with this. Yeah, this is not a political issue, right?
Yeah.
Republicans, Democrats are all being touched by the opioid crisis, which has racked the United States. But I want to make another point that this is not just drug cartels trying to make some money, which part of it obviously is. This is a concerted effort by our enemies, particularly China, who are making an effort to make sure that this opioid crisis continues in our country. They are sending the materials necessary for opioids to Mexico, Venezuela, all across the world in order for it to come to the U.S. This is a strategic issue, not just a moral and medical one in the United States.
So you see it as a geopolitical issue. This is a soft attack in a way by China.
In addition, yes, of course, obviously. There's no question about it.
And that's accepted amongst the Trump administration. They see it that way as well.
Of course, obviously, yes.
Incredible. Now, earlier today, President Donald Trump met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House shortly after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced new sanctions on Russia's biggest oil exporters. Ahmed, this is a significant move by the Trump administration, putting additional pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin and trying to get him to negotiate a peace deal. He has been recalcitrant throughout.
Do you remember the days when they said that Donald Trump was Putin's cat's paw? Do you remember the days they said he was in the pocket of Putin? I wonder if there was an apology issued for that, right?
Not quite. Not quite. No.
Look, he's handling this just right. Look, this is an almost intractable issue. This is not going to be solved, over the course of months, right? It's going to take a year or so, 2 years to solve, probably. But the fact that he is at a point where he's negotiating with both sides, this is far beyond where Biden ever was, right? He's the art of negotiation. Whether or not he actually is going to give them Tomahawk missiles, the fact that he's using that as leverage is the right move, because the Tomahawk missile the Russians are frightened of it because it brings all their major cities within the strike zone of Kiev. And it's an incredibly effective weapon system.
But the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has praised President Trump's decision not to provide Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. And he said that he's got the right approach to secure a peace deal.
Here we have a president who from day one coming into office wants to end this war in Ukraine. By the way, he has been extremely successful recently with Gaza, and he has ended other conflicts, including India, Pakistan, and Armenia, Azerbaijan. So he is really a peacemaker. He wants to end this war. This is close to his heart. He wants to end the killing. And I think what he did on Friday and Sunday, saying, hey, let's stop where you are. So stop where you are. And then you can still debate a lot of other things later. But stop the fighting is exactly the right approach.
He's got the praise of the NATO chief there, but Donald Trump did promise a swift end to this war. Is this his biggest foreign policy frustration at the moment? Is this the one that he needs to tick off?
This is the big one, for sure. I mean, look, Gaza-Israel was also a massive one. I mean, he has had a string of successes. I mean, you can't expect the guy to solve all the world's problems in less than a year.
Well, he's had 8 peace deals in his second term.
I think that's pretty solid. I think that's pretty solid. But look, I love the Secretary General, right? And again, where's the remember when the days when they were saying he hates NATO, he wants to destroy NATO? Remember those days? Well, guess what? The Secretary General loves this president. He realizes the successes of this president on the foreign policy sphere, and he realizes the amount of strength he has been giving to NATO. So, yeah, look, I think that the Democrats, while they should apologize to him, I don't think that's forthcoming anytime soon.
I don't think so at all. And it was so obvious what Trump was doing when he was putting pressure on NATO countries, when he was making threats about, we're not going to keep protecting you. He wanted them to pay their share and not just rely on America to carry all the load. It was obvious that in the end that was going to strengthen NATO, and yet all the media commentary, almost all of it, was painting this as an attack against NATO and trying to weaken NATO and be, again, Putin's puppet. It makes you lose faith in the mainstream media when people seem to be deliberately blind to a strategy that should be pretty obvious.
Oh, you're so sweet. It makes us lose. Yeah, I'm sorry. We've lost
that
faith
point.
a long time ago with the media. Please.
Now, let's talk about your hometown, your current hometown. I thought you were born and bred New Yorker, but no, California to NYC.
Loyal to the soil. Go Dodgers.
Well, the mayoral debates were on, and Zoran Mamdani, he's still a front runner to be the next mayor of New York, but former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is trying to catch him.
He has said he'll take over New York if Mamdani wins, and he will, because he has no respect for him. He thinks he's a kid and he's going to knock him on his tuchus. So it is a balance, but you're going to have to be adversarial when you need to, but you want to cooperate to get good things done in this city, and you need federal help.
And after the debate, Cuomo was with current Mayor Eric Adams at Madison Square Garden. Interesting. Have these old foes turned into friends to try to defeat Mamdani? And what's it going to mean if Mamdani does prevail? It's going to be, I've got to say, it's going to be good for me, possibly not good for New Yorkers. But what do you think will be the practical outcomes if Mamdani becomes mayor?
Outside of renegotiating my rent with my landlord, putting that aside, look, we have a roadmap to what could happen with the city. It's called the 70s and the 80s, right? It does take a long time to get to that dystopian area, but it's certainly possible, and we're on that road without question. I'm not quite, look, I think the polling came out recently about what would happen in terms of if Silva dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
And it looks like it would actually almost be within the margin of error. Now, it would be very close, within 4 points. Now, I get 3 or 4 texts a day from the Silva campaign, and I keep texting back. I'm sure it goes out the ether, drop out, drop out, drop out, drop out, okay? And the truth is that, and I know your producers always tell me there won't be math on the show, but I'm still have to do a little bit of math here. 4% is the margin of error, right? And that would be where they would be if Silva drops out. 80% of the 9% who are undecided, so about 10% undecided, shocking that anybody is, are over 50, and 80% of people over 50 are going to break toward Cuomo. So if you do the numbers, it'll give Cuomo another 6%, which would give him the race. So I'm telling you now, I'm predicting it right here.
What do you think the participation rate's going to be like with this election? Because we've got Democrat on Democrat. I mean, it is a little bit depressing if you happen to be, I don't know, slightly sane and conservative in New York. It is a one-party system there.
Well, there's like 15 of us. So, yeah. So, I mean, one of my favorite statistics about New York City is that Manhattan voted in a number for Biden and for Clinton at a higher number than Putin won his election.
Geez, yeah. Okay, that says it all. That does say it all. How did the Jewish population feel? I know Mamdani famously has some Jewish supporters, but surely, given some of his commentary over the years and recent months, they must be terribly nervous.
Yeah, no, it's not a great time for Jews in New York. I mean, across the globe, obviously in general. But when we had the high holidays not that long ago, and Jews, you have to have armed security in front of every single synagogue in New York because the danger levels, the threat levels are so high. And in no small part, Mamdani is part of it. Mamdani just met and smiled and shook hands with an unindicted co-conspirator of the bombing of the World Trade Center in '93, smiling, grabbing his hand. This is what not just Jews, but New Yorkers in general have to deal with. He is an insane person, and the city will be insane to elect him. It is shocking to me, shocking he has this much support.
Well, you're in Melbourne today, and the front page of today's Herald Sun newspaper was a story about anti-Semitism, about the Carlton Football Club's mascot storming out of a young fan's bar mitzvah after learning that he was raising money for wounded Israeli soldiers. He allegedly yelled, "I'm not doing this for effing Zios," and walked out. A source told the Herald Sun the man will not be working for Carlton again. But it's just another example of how much this has become normalised to be anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, and the lines are very much blurred with anti-Semitism there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he's so flush with money. He's got so many gigs, he can walk out of a gig and say no. I hope they didn't pay him, by the way, of course. But this is what we have to deal with on a daily basis around the world, and it's sick, it's disgusting, and I'm glad that we have friends who can help us with this.
Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure.
Joining me now is celebrity and royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, let's start with shocking revelations about Prince Andrew. His biographer has revealed the sex-obsessed former Duke begged staff and friends to arrange girls for him, and it's also been revealed that Prince Andrew's team tried to hire internet trolls to hassle his accuser. I mean, that is almost unthinkable, Kinsey.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think this Virginia Giuffre book would shake the royal family the way it has, but the timing has been absolutely disastrous. Her revelations dropped just as those newly uncovered emails proved Prince Andrew was not truthful about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It's turned into a catastrophic PR storm for the working royals. And it's hard to see it ending without more accountability for Prince Andrew, possibly even legal consequences. I feel like exile seems to be the only logical answer when it comes to how to solve the PR crisis for now.
Now to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They've joined more than 700 public figures in calling for a ban on AI superintelligence due to safety concerns. What else can you tell me about this?
Here's what I can tell you, Rita. Never forget, in 2020, Prince Harry was tricked during a phone call with two Russian pranksters posing as Greta Thunberg and her father. During the call, he told them Donald Trump had blood on his hands and awkwardly distanced himself from Prince Andrew. The only thing this man is an authority on is ayahuasca and Mary Jane. I'm sorry, but I think he's a moron, and I don't care what he thinks about artificial intelligence.
No, I don't know why people get them involved, because it just devalues the issue and discredits it in a weird way, even if it is a worthy issue. Now, let's check in on Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow's daughter, Apple. Here she is making a surprise singing appearance at a concert in Nashville where she sang for the audience. I really don't know what they did to deserve this. Kinsey, who's going to tell this Nepo baby the truth?
I feel the same way about her new modeling career. Obviously, Apple Martin benefits from being the daughter of Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin, and that name opens doors in both music and fashion. But once she steps through them, the industry can be brutal if the talent or work ethic isn't there. Nepo babies may get early access, but long-term success still depends on genuine ability. Apple will have to prove she's more than just a famous name, and she's also going to have to shake her mean girl reputation.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I did see some clips she had posted to social media, And she was just uniquely unlikable in them. And this was stuff that she'd recorded herself and she was sharing. And I was like, again, someone in her orbit isn't telling her the truth. Now, talking about the truth, I think someone in Katy Perry's orbit needs to have a word to her, because we keep seeing clips from her concert tour and invariably they are cringe. Kinsey, I don't have the words.
She's so cool. She's such an astronaut. I mean, screaming, "We have the power." Katie, you're the 1% dating a former government official. Katie's out here telling us to fight the power. Meanwhile, she's literally kissing it goodnight. I cannot take this woman seriously.
Now, actor Jeff Daniels, you remember him from Dumb and Dumber. He starred in that with Jim Carrey. He's been mercilessly mocked after belting out a ditty in support of the No Kings protest. Have a look at this. This was on Nicole Wallace's MSNBC show.
This crazy world's gone crazy. Who am I to judge? It's nice to know in a world full of hate, there's someone out there still making love.
Oh dear, that was just weapon-grade levels of cringe there, Kinsey. That was something else. I even felt bad for Nicole Wallace, who's horrible, but I felt bad for her because she had to sit there and smile.
Yeah, I mean, this man who used to be an incredible entertainer, I loved the newsroom, is out here promoting his one-man show through this media that he's doing, alienating 50% of his potential audience. Fans come for the art, not the politics. That's why they're turning their backs on Hollywood.
When will Hollywood learn that lesson? Because they seem to be oblivious to the fact that they are just turning off half the population, and more than that, there would be plenty of people who perhaps aren't political or even might agree with their politics, but it's the last thing you want to hear from your celebrities. Just stick to what you're good at. Now, Michelle Obama, she's talking everywhere. She's appearing on podcasts, including her own, and she's given some parenting advice, spruiking the importance of showing your children that you're capable of struggling and you have flaws.
You know, if I were one of Michelle Obama's daughters, I would kindly suggest that oversharing might be one of her flaws. At this point, Michelle Obama's podcast sounds less like a guru and more like the Real Housewives of Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm over it. Every week, you and I have something to talk about, and it's not necessarily anything that's edifying.
Well, it's rarely anything that's complimentary towards her husband. It seems to be just a forum for her to badmouth Barack, like, you know, whether it's how he chews, the 10 bad years of their marriage, him embarrassing. I mean, she has said so many things that have been disparaging about him, but also, Kinsey, about their time in the White House. She made it sound like some sort of a ordeal.
Prison sentence.
Complaining about prison sentence, complained about having to pay for her own food at times. When, you know, what an honour to be the first lady, of the United States.
I know, and so loved. Think about all of the magazine covers they slapped her on. Think about, I mean, poor Melania, who literally is sex on a stick. It is rejected by Vogue, rejected by all of these nasty publications, but not Michelle Obama. We got to see her on everything from the cover of TV Guide to Vanity Fair.
Absolutely. They got just an endless tongue bath from the media. Kinsey Schofield, thank you for your time tonight.